Crack open my eye. Ooh, it smell like dope. I gotta have it fresh, so I go to the safe store.
All right. We back in the building, rocking red. Oh, we kind of part two and from yesterday with it. We was still in the mist when we cut off. So we're gonna jump right back until we done already did it. Everybody done brawled to death. Now we back at Mr. Aldean here. We was finishing up the lyrics on this fella here. But go ahead and finish giving your take because it cut off before we can even get back to you on now.
That was the cool thing about this is that you just actually uploaded the video that we did yesterday just now, so I got to kind of watch the end of it. I kind of said what I said. I mean, I don't really have too much else. Like I said, I do not believe myself that those lyrics pointed towards anybody except for people that were that are giving, that are criminals, basically, that are giving normal people in life in a small town or a big town, whatever it is, a hard time.
Yeah.
I'm going to stand on that, man. I mean, I don't, like I said, I think that the lyrics themselves, I didn't see any racism in them.
I think it's more like how the people are taking it. Like I say, I think it just had like some undertones to it, but like
I do have something to say about that.
What I call like with 2 Chainz, I call them a controlled ignorance. I think it was like a control, like you're kind of teetering that line, and it's gonna be thought that way. I don't think he necessarily. I think he made the song to be what it is. Like
what? Wait, sorry, 2 Chainz?
No, I'm just saying like 2 Chainz is a controlled ignorance. Like this dude is doing like a controlled kind of like
I know what you're saying exactly.
He's playing with that, playing with it lyrically, that's not his thing, but he knows that will resonate with some people out there. So
have we talked about this before?
Probably that's why I say 2 Chainz. It comes to mind like 2 Chainz ain't stupid, but if you listen to him, he say the most ignorant.
No,
like you be like, what the? But you know he's not stupid. But like I say, but he plays that part because that's the role and that's the way people want to see him. And I think Aldean's just kind of playing that part a little more than he actually is. And then the people who want to be that way, they gonna make it that way. Like I say, I don't think, like I say, if I just heard the song straight up, if I'm not looking at the video, I wouldn't even think none of it.
I want to say a few things about that. First of all, you couldn't have said it. Everything you said about 2 Chainz is exactly what I've said before, and I didn't realize how old he was. I'll sum it up like this. I like the ignorant music somehow that he comes out with, and I hate stuff like that, but for some reason he makes it enjoyable, and I think he picked that up too. He's way smarter than that. He's almost our age. He's older than me. He's maybe about your age. I mean, he's way older than you think, but he made ignorant music for younger people, and he did it well. But it's not so ignorant that it's harmful. I don't know. Maybe it is.
2 Chainz is, to me, it's like a Wiz Khalifa. They both are harmless. The worst they gonna do is give you the munchies.
Second thing, though, I want to point this out about Jason Aldean. Jason Aldean is not from a small town.
I don't know nothing about
Macon, Georgia, where Jeezy's from.
Macon?
He's from Macon, Georgia.
And my brother got a house in Macon. Like my brother's got a house in Macon. I had to go down there and fix the roof one time. Like
I've never been there. But
it's not small. There's got some small town feel. Right, but everywhere down south has a small town feel. Like
fair enough.
But it's not.
People have made that criticism about Jason Aldean, and they're like, "Bro, you're not from a small town. You're from a town of almost 200,000 or whatever it is, and that's not a small."
This is when I lost respect. When not that you supposed to run up on a mass shooter, but when you ain't do nothing and you say you make a song and come out and try that in a small town, like that's what makes it to me. It's just like you're not addressing the issues that's really happening in America. You making up stuff like throwing people in front of trains and old ladies. Like, nah, what about these mass shooters? You ain't gonna talk to them? What you don't talk to. What about these random people snatching up people, trafficking kids and all? You ain't gonna talk about
I'm
them?
glad you brought that up. I'm glad because I think that's probably the single most important thing that we could be talking about as a country. That seems to not be the thing. We talk about everything else, and I may
Sometimes
not even
I
know enough
I
to
wonder about us, bro. I wonder, like,
all of us. Not,
the whole
I don't.
country,
I
like,
don't wonder about the people of America. I wonder about the people that are controlling us and running things. And the thing about the fact that I had a little bit of time to sit and wait is that there's so many things we could talk about. I don't know what direction we should go in or what direction you want to go in. We could go
yeah.
political. We could talk about the candidates that are available. I did sit and listen to Dr. Cornell West
Oh, so you saw that
on
interview?
the Breakfast Club. I listened to his whole.
Yeah.
That was
All
the
right.
first
So
thing I did.
late last night, I'm watching some. I like to watch all the news, and I was scanning every news. I was literally flipping through. I'm talking about probably 8, 9 different channels, trying to find somebody covering this brawl, and nobody would cover it and make me happy last night. So I got mad and had to go back to because they wouldn't give me what I wanted. I told my wife, "What's wrong with news? I need an algorithm. Give me what I want, like social media, because y'all is reporting on stuff I don't care nothing about right now." But the one thing I did see is the brother owed $500,000 in back taxes. Now I heard him say he was broke on Breakfast
On
Club,
the Breakfast Club, he said
and I
that.
heard them say something about back taxes. But like I say,
Yeah.
Cornell West is real poetic and use a lot of big words. So he like electric slided that mess up under the rug so smooth. He said some smooth mess like if you shine a flashlight under anybody's laundry, you're gonna find some mess. Like, whoa,
Yes.
no,
Is that what he
no.
said exactly,
That's
or is it something like that? Because
I
it
ain't
could
gonna
have been
say
either one.
verbatim, but it was pretty close to
Yeah.
that. And I was
I
just
missed
like,
that part.
what? You shine some flashlight under there? Oh, first of all, like, well, hold on. What? I always say if you ask for that light, then you probably should clean up under your clothes if you know you're getting in that light. First of all, but
Yeah.
but you didn't answer the question on whether you owe taxes or not. That's a yes or no question.
Well, and that kind of leads me into my impression of him because I had heard him speak in the past, and I've listened to him speak a couple of times on interviews recently, and I like him. I will give
I
you
like him. I
my.
mean,
Well,
I
he's
would
hard
sit and
not to
drink some
like.
scotch with him. I mean, I would.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I'm going to be critical in the way that you. I'm going to give him his flowers too, but also be critical in the way that you have to when you're looking at somebody who's going to run a country, no
I
matter who they
refuse to
are.
let anybody slide and not get them all the same energy.
Right. I appreciate that about you, and that's why we could do this with everybody if we want to.
Yes, because I
He's
yeah, definitely need to.
man. He's a cool dude. He definitely knows his culture all the way. He brought up so many musical references
Oh
from
yeah,
the beginning to when he was a young man to today, and he knows everybody and he knows everything, and that's very impressive. That helps him to connect with people.
mm-hmm.
He is that here's my I'll just jump in with my biggest. It's not even a criticism. It's just something that has never occurred in America that I know of. We've
Yeah,
never really had academics, people that are true academics, become president.
true.
Because, and I think there's a reason for it. I think that people like Dr. Cornell West are not going to be able to connect with everybody because they think in such an abstract way and they've lived in academia their whole lives.
Yeah,
I think for anybody, regardless of color or who you are, it's difficult to do that. They may love you and think you're a cool dude and you're interesting, but if and he does seem to have a connection with working people of
yeah,
all sorts,
yeah,
and not just black people
yeah,
or poor black people.
yeah.
He mentions poor white Appalachians and people like that, and I don't know if he does it on purpose or if he's just acknowledging that there's many poor people, and it's not necessarily tied to color, and that he recognizes and understands that. But it's very difficult for somebody like that to connect with the whole populace,
Yeah.
Democrat or Republican, enough to beat out another candidate who, God knows he's way better. I mean, anybody's better than Joe Biden. I would.
Well, I think
you can open up the phone book and let me just pick a random person. I will take them, and I say that in all honesty. I will take them over Joe Biden at this
I don't
point.
want
This is
no
how I
random
feel.
people because no, I'm gonna have to go to a certain lane. I'm gotta go to a certain name or something. But on that, look.
You understand what I'm saying?
All right, yeah, oh, definitely.
But I
Back to West.
like
Best
where
on
his head's
Cornell
at.
West. This is my this is my take on Cornell West. Again, like everything you said, yes, 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 yes. And he will not, his energy is like a Bernie Sanders energy. We know you're
Very much.
smarter in a certain way. We respect you for that smartness, but you don't have that play the game charisma that you have to be a president.
Not at
Especially when
all.
you're playing against Trump.
No.
Because regardless of how much nobody likes him, nobody can take their eyes off this idiot once he starts talking, especially if he's in a debate or, you know, some kind of back and forth with one of these guys.
Dude, and he shows him, he gives him that respect in a way when he calls him a gangster. He says, he uses the word gangsterism a lot, which I like. I like that he throws that out, but he calls Trump a gangster every chance he gets. And so somehow or another, of course he understands.
Yeah. Yeah, but you got to understand when
he has a gangster energy about him.
I'm gonna say 40% of America love gangsters.
Yeah, a lot of people do. I mean, and we need that gang. If it ain't with Trump, we need that gangster energy with somebody in some kind of way. Do you not disagree? Because Putin has Putin has gangster energy.
Yeah,
Kim Jong-un has gangster energy. I mean, if we're being serious.
Yeah. I mean,
that we need to go. And by the way, I think we could maintain peace with both of those countries with Trump in office, unlike what's about to happen with Biden.
Yeah, well, I think this is my whole take on everybody. Cornell West just turned 70. Trump 74. Biden 70. Goddamn forever. But I don't know. But I'm just literally just. It's why we gotta pick somebody so old. 35 is the doggone the bottom threshold. Why we ain't got a top threshold? Like we picking people who literally got.
We don't pick those people though, bro. That's the thing.
We don't pick.
When's the last time we picked one of these people?
Why don't we pick somebody?
I think we've been trying to. That's what we've been trying to, and those people get pushed down, dude. We've seen it. That's what I'm saying. Look, even when I was a kid, I realized that Ronald Reagan was old AF, and then.
Hold on, Ronald Reagan. If we wanted Ronald Reagan in his heyday, we should have got actor Ronald Reagan. We get the old Ronald Reagan. Like we didn't even get the good actor Ronald Reagan.
I was too young to realize. I thought I was too young to realize if he was a good or a bad president, and I still don't know, and I still don't really have.
He was good if you were.
We had just come out of Jimmy Carter. But Jimmy Carter was probably by if you ask the old people, ask your mom and dad. Or had asked your dad in the past, Jimmy Carter was the worst president, and that people, I don't know. I didn't realize he was supposed to.
I don't think Jimmy Carter was anything. I think Jimmy Carter was a transitional president. It's like some of those presidents who just inherit a lot of shit, and they're just the person in between the because we don't really like. I was born in '76. I take it. It's my first 4 years. Most people don't remember much, but. If you want to call Reagan a good president, all you got to do is say, what happened in the 80s? AIDS, crack.
Yeah.
Welfare system went through the roof. I mean, drug war. Like, just say no. Ain't nobody bit more said no ever. Ain't nobody said the N or the O. Like, everybody, look, we saw the eggs in the pan, and these kids is rapping about making scrambled eggs with these eggs now in the pan. They Percocet. It's just say no did not work. So everything that they did, like what did he do?
No, you're right.
He did the same thing Biden did. He locked up a lot of black people with their policies.
Absolutely. And that's another thing.
And now, like I say, maybe Biden's gonna atone for it, but his atonement taking way too long. You had 4 years, bro. You might not get no more. And the way you like, ain't no might to it. But I'm just saying, if you were going to atone for your crack laws, this was the time to do it. If you ain't do it in the first four, no, don't be like, oh, we ain't have time. We ain't got time.
I could say what my response is to that, and I will say it if you would like. But I've said it before that somebody like Biden. I'm not saying every Democratic politician, but somebody like Biden who ends up becoming the candidate for the Democratic Party is going to tell you all that stuff, and then he's not going to do shit. And that's just
that's the problem with Democrats right now. They talk a good game, and they've had. Let's count off the Democratic presidents. They usually only get one term because they talk and don't do shit. We're talking back to Jimmy Carter. Then we're gonna jump over to
Bill Clinton and Barack Obama.
Clinton. Now we again, America love a good gangster and they love a good hoe. He could blow that horn. He's a good hoe, so they'll let him slide on in there. And then we had Barack. Well, Barack was the upper echelons. I don't care what nobody said. They be talking about going back to the good America. I'm talking 2000 to 2008. This is a good America to me because it was a time where everybody voted for the best candidate. It didn't matter he was black. It didn't matter what he was. Everybody voted for the best candidate, and we knew he was the best candidate. But the boy had. I'm telling you, there is a such thing as blacklists. We're talking black excellence. Oh, Lord, I can't talk. Excellence. There you go. Black excellence. Yeah. It is a thing. And this is the upper echelons. I'm talking about same wife, 2 kids. We talking Harvard law. Married to another lawyer. We're talking about above the Huxtables, y'all. This was, couldn't nobody deny this thing. But yet about a quarter of this country became the most racist, disrespectful for the White House people I've ever seen in American history. Still to this fact, I'm telling you right now, you can take it how you want to. I ain't never seen nobody finer body. We talking fine in the body is Michelle Obama in the White House because she got a dome. I'm just saying. But people were talking about it, calling her mans and all this. I'm like, y'all have you seen Barbara Bush? She is not a looker.
Well, certainly, yeah.
But I'm just saying, I ain't never heard nobody attack what Kennedy wife, whatever their names was, that any other wife.
Jacqueline Kennedy.
Ain't never taking some of these women were better looking, but Michelle is nice, but like I say, it wasn't even that. It was maybe that's not your taste. Maybe that's not what you like. But the disrespect for the office of White House, the disrespect for of what he was.
You know
Trump
what?
ain't got nan degree for nothing but doggone apprentice. But here's a man who got a loan from a rich daddy. We call him a good businessman. Been bankrupt more than. He's been bankrupt 11 times, literally. Like, you don't go bankrupt repeated times and call yourself a good businessman. He instead of getting money from people to run, to actually pay for his lawyers, and people believe he's a billionaire. Like, if you take away corporate tax law, this man be broke as I don't get up. Now,
let me ask you something.
But at least Cornell West owes taxes. Trump don't even pay them.
Let me ask you an honest question, and this doesn't have anything to do with politics. But back in the days, I don't think it was on that NWA album, but on a lot of albums that I heard back in the days, Houston rappers, Ice Cube, different people, people used to shout Trump out. People used to generally like Trump, and I will say this. No, hold on, because we can hold on. When you watched interviews of him back in the 80s and 90s, he was very much he seemed very likable in a way that he's not anymore. I'm giving you some ammo here against Trump. So just hear me out. He seemed to be super cool. Everybody loved him. They knew he was a playboy. All this. I never cared one way or the other back then. We go on to the 90s and the early 2000s. He starts to evolve into like the apprentice guy and all this. I still didn't give a fuck. Rappers still kept talking about him. I still didn't care. Never watched the guy, never watched The Apprentice, never did any of that. But he kind of evolved in his maybe ego or whatever. But at some point, everybody hated him. And it started when he ran for president. And it was, and I really, not everybody hated him, but I feel like there was a real campaign from the Democratic Party to make everybody hate him all of a sudden. These people had been his allies up until this point in his life.
You think that? Disagree? Let me give you. I totally disagree. Let me give you Black history on Trump. 1982, Trump Tower. Black people are not allowed in there. Every Black person knows this. Early 90s, the 5 Black boys who got wrongly accused of raping a white woman, he put that billboard up. Another strike against Trump. Nobody ever liked him. They liked his name. See, Trump is confused with what we use as calling the being tight in spades. When you Trump tight, we're not talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about the Trump as in the suit of the card. So there's 2 different Trumps in the hood. And it ain't always Donald Trump. See, I could be Trump tight and I ain't talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about I got all the spades and I'm about to run a Boston on your butt.
Yep.
So
I was never sure what Trump, when I heard Trump tight at first, I actually thought that it was
nothing to do with
Trump. And that was back in the days.
Nope. So, it's cards. We're talking about spades. So that has nothing to do. But Black people have known this. Now, take it, the name Trump meant money. Trump Tower, Trump plane. They used the name because it meant money. Nobody cares.
That's a simple enough
it was about the name, but the person nobody's ever liked. Trump is the rich kid who couldn't play football. He got money. He couldn't play football. So instead of beating you at the football team, he became the head of the frat. Now you may be the football player and the head jock, but I'm the head of the frat and I got money, so I trump you. Like he's that guy.
I agree with everything you're saying.
And that's not even done with Black history on them. We still had another moment. After that,
I have some history too.
Yeah, now then we go all the way up to Prentice, the whole Omarosa. There's certain people in the Black community, and I'm not gonna call her the C word, but it starts with a C and it got 2 O's in the middle and the N on the end. But
I completely forgot about her.
Yeah. Black people ain't. And we don't, when you pick those type of people, like we know who you are. We know who you are because if you need a person who talks from the same points as you, that's the other color, to validate you, then we already know what that spirit is. Because if you really about the people, you would have a variety of us that talk different because we're not mono. We don't all think, we have it is many spectrums in the Black community as it is in any other community. All Jews ain't the same. I know some broke Jews. You know what I'm saying? Like I know. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know, all white people ain't got good credit. I know some white people with some toe up credit. All Black people don't pay their bills. I know some Black people pay bills like clockwork. Like it's some of these things are just stuff that it might be right on some level, but it ain't a blanket you can lay across America. But it's not like that with Black people either. And when you only see one type of Black person over in the Republican Party, that's where they're gonna lose all the time. Because no matter what's on the other party, you're gonna see a rainbow of different types of whatever it is over there. The Republican Party, man. Another show I was watching in I think it was an old Colbert rerun, and they were talking about the diversity in the Republican Party, and they panned the room, and it was not a brown or Black person in the room. The funniest thing about it, he said, "Oh yeah, I see the diversity. I see Millie White, Vanilla. I see Band-Aid. I see Band-Aid with glasses." I was like, "Good Jesus!" but It's literally all he was just saying. I saw a bunch of versions of white, but I did not see one other color.
I actually, so I, you know, I, as far as who I look at politically, I don't think there's any single person whose channel or station or YouTube channel I follow who was originally a Republican. Like I never watched Bill O'Reilly. I never watched Sean Hannity. I never watched any of these people, but I follow certain people who used to be Democrats that are now Republicans. And some of those are black people, like black conservatives and whatnot. And I agree that there's not many of them. But I don't.
I can name
it's a hard thing to do.
I can name some famous ones.
I mean, I'm not even talking about Candace Owens, if that's who you're talking about.
No. I'm talking about like Cheryl Underwood. She's a black Republican. She don't like Trump, but she's a black Republican. I know a bunch of them, like Earthquake.
She the lady from
Earthquake,
Georgia?
the comedian.
Is she from Georgia? Is that who I'm thinking of?
Cheryl Underwood. I'm not sure. I think she is like up north Detroit or something. But she old school Def Comedy Jam comedian. Been on the not the View, but the Talk or something like that. She's still on the Talk or something like that. But she got her own show. But she's a black Republican. Been a black Republican. Earthquake. He just said the other day he's been a black Republican for years, but they don't like Trump. That's what I tell you. It's many out
that's
there.
Fair. That's fair. And that's what we're talking about right now.
Yeah,
look, here's what I was going to get at earlier. All right, I'm in construction. You're in construction. Trump didn't pay a lot of people and filed bankruptcy and screwed little companies over. That's the thing that gets me. You know, that's the reason. That's one of the things that I despise about him. That doesn't mean that I would not look at the greater picture and support him, but I don't respect that. And you can say whatever you want about that, but that's my, you know.
Yeah, when you got all that money and you building stuff and you don't want to pay the people.
I don't respect people like that. I don't do that now. When I encounter people anything like that, I stand on mine and I mean I don't care who the hell you are, how big you think you are, and I don't respect it. And I'll let people know that. So I don't respect him for that. Yeah. However, we don't have a lot of great choices, like I've said before. So there's things I'm willing to overlook. But yeah, no, that's those things don't sit right with me when I hear about how he came up and how many people he screwed along the way.
Yeah, now that's the other one. And again, they often said that he didn't mind black and brown workers working on his building. But when these same people come back to this building because they built it and they were happy they worked on Trump towers, and you ain't coming in this door. And they sell some people actually, just wanted to see it. But there was a time when, like I say, when the name was just like synonymous with Robin Leach, like lifestyles of the rich and famous type. So it was like this.
It was a culture thing.
Yeah, it was like
there wasn't too many other people.
It wasn't about him. It was just he was the person that was there when we saw the name, but it was the name and everything around him. It wasn't, nobody knew his personality. Nobody listened to him talk. He didn't say much, but we saw him. He was walking with the bad little wig. He got on the same red tie suit he was wearing in the 80s, same hairdo. And he was just walking, but he was walking to the jet. He was walking out the Trump Towers. He was walking, getting out of limousines. That's what we saw. It wasn't really him. Yeah. It was the lifestyle. So I think
we didn't have the social media. We didn't have the Kardashians with the social media and all of like that stuff's all in our culture now. But back then there was only so much of it. There was only so many people. Like
if you wanted to see rich people, you had to wait till Sunday morning, Lifestyle Rich and Famous, or Sunday night or something to see that.
Right.
It was
nowhere else. I never watched
that
either, but I know it existed. You had Robin Leach.
I did.
Donald Trump, and then maybe like later on the Hilton sisters and all that. And then, but when we were kids, you had Dallas. Maybe that was like and maybe that wasn't your jam and it wasn't my parents' jam either.
Oh,
but like that was a thing.
It was
rich people, oil money, all that stuff. They were always selling that lifestyle and
See the
culture.
problem?
Silver Spoons, the show Silver Spoons.
See all those things like we watched in the 80s. And
what the hell? Different
like,
Strokes.
have
Different
you ever
Strokes.
went back and watched, and then you realize, like, man, I thought this was innocent, and you realize the General Lee is the General Lee that led the Southern troops, and you're like, whoa, that's what the General Lee is.
But was that?
Like,
But did you love that show regardless when you were a kid? And so did I.
I'm telling
that was
you,
my favorite show.
If I didn't, I had an uncle who had the car in Mobile, Alabama. I'm talking about the Stars and Bars was on it, I believe, and everything. Maybe he just had the 76. Maybe the Stars and Bars went on it, but it was definitely orange. And I used to dive through the windows. I ain't getting through the door because I watched.
My dad had a 1970. My dad had a 1970 Toyota Corolla that was not orange; it was red, but it was so burnt, it was so rusted that it looked orange.
It looked like it.
And bro, and on everything, I'm gonna tell this story right now.
Burnt rust
I asked my dad if I could buy a big piece of paper and make the Stars and Bars and put it on the top of the car, and he let me do it. But then he told me he was going to drive it like that, and he took it off and he put that bitch in the trunk because he was like, he knew what it was. He's from Georgia, first of all, but he was like, okay, son, I bought a piece of paper from like Target or whatever, and I drew a Confederate flag and painted it with crayons or whatever. And my dad was like, yeah, cool, whatever, but we're not doing that.
I mean,
that's a real story.
Yeah, people don't. Yes. I mean, do they remember? I forget what MJG album is. MJG had Confederate flags up there. I mean, they was in flames, but like, he was. I mean, it is Southern. Some people like, for instance, my wife. I don't know who it was at work. They had fingernails and had little, bars and stars on the fingernails, and they was like, "No, it's pride," and she was like, "No, it's racist," and she was like, "No, it's pride." She was like, no, like, what was the war about? Because that's the war flag, basically, the losing side of the flag. but she was like, the war was for freedom. She's like, freedom of who? She's like, freedom, like, but she was young. She didn't get it. She just, all she thought that the war was for freedom. Like, some people are raising these young generations, and they're, like I say, they're taking the slavery out of it. When you take the slavery out of it, it sounds like it's just a bunch of white people fighting white people, the South versus the North. But when you realize they was fighting to free the slaves, if you just take that one little part out of it, then it becomes just Southern pride. It's like, I'm from the South, and then it's like, I'm from the North. I mean, Houston, don't nobody got more North Side or South Side pride than Houston. I mean, everybody can understand the South Side pride. You can understand that, but when the pride has blood on it, it's not pride no more. It's not pride no more. It's something different, and it's got so much blood on it. It can't be pride.
One more thing about my dad and that, because I want to give him his credit on this. When I was a kid, for a while, my dad, and I want to explain this to you, he's from Georgia. He had a small Confederate flag that he had, just a little one. He didn't put it anywhere. This was after I tried to put it on the car or whatever, but he had that. And it was only, let me explain, it was only when he realized, because he grew up thinking that was his flag as a citizen of Georgia.
It was.
When he realized that it was a symbol of hate, like that's what it, not that that's what it originally was, but that's what
it is now.
He said, that's not my flag anymore. And he got rid of it.
Have you ever heard Outkast?
So he had no malice.
The beginning of Outkast album.
What?
The beginning of Outkast album came out in '96, and they say the Confederate flag still flies over the Capitol.
Right, the Georgia
It was still flying over in '96.
Yeah.
So this is way after your daddy left Georgia. But by that time, like you say, it turned to something else. All right, so we under 5 minutes.
Okay. So I guess let's talk about albums then. You go first.
Yeah. All right. So NWA. First of all, like, do you remember the first time you heard this album? First time?
I do remember the first time I heard it. I think I do. I'm trying to remember who had it.
The first time I heard this,
I honestly can't remember the exact first time I heard it, but I think I know. I think it was at Donnie Aronson's house. That's what I think.
The first time I heard Straight Outta Compton, This is when, early 90s, I'm getting into music, but uh I had a like a cousin that like bumping system, like, 2 Live Crew. He had a lot of Easy E, so it was easy. I heard Easy E, but the first time I heard Straight Outta Compton, I'm like 8th grade. I'm going to FM Black. Shout out to everybody who went to FM Black over there, over there on the north side, 34th and Mangum in Silver Creek Apartments, over there by Studewood. Where I went to FM Black, man, and I'm still assimilating to Texas, and FM Black was kind of like a throwback to Mobile. It was like I finally got like, black being the minority instead of the other way around. Like I've been in school my whole life, where it's like three or four white kids in school, and then
you went straight to a black school first.
FM Black was like seriously all like it was like a few white, like this how poor the school was. Like it didn't have like I was the
shout
only
out to FM Black. I know where that's at. Shout out to the north side, man.
Bro, shout out to the Panthers. But look, I was the only black boy in advanced classes. I was like one of 2 boys in advanced classes. We didn't even have advanced, like a whole bunch of advanced classes. We just had like one, and they did all of us. Like, but I mean, like, I ended up going to the DC trip in 8th grade because I was the only black boy. It was the changing of the guard. I got to do the changing of the guard in DC with the first black guard that actually got it, because I was the only black boy. So I actually handed him his flag when he did the change of the guard in DC. But that's what I was listening to when I rolled up with the tape when I went to
That's great when you have an actual memory of.
Yes.
I can't, I don't have I have a first time for a lot of albums, but I don't have it for this. Because the reason why is I didn't have it, but a bunch of other people had it. And so I heard about it. And by the time I got it, I don't remember the first, like I'd already heard some of the songs. So it's not like Doggy Style, I have a memory. UGK Super Tight, I have a memory. Certain things are like I remember when I popped that in and where I was at, but no.
Yeah.
But that was a big album for me. And
PE. We got 1 minute. We got 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
All right.
We're under 2 minutes now.
2 minutes. Well, I'll just forget it then. I'm gonna go straight over to the album that I picked out. I didn't pick it out, it just popped up. I reached in, and what an album for what we're talking about for me to grab.
Man, that's a classic.
I jammed a lot of PE when I was a kid. This has Bring the Noise, Don't Believe the Hype, Night of the Living Bassheads.
911 is a joke on that one.
Chaos, Rebel Without a Pause.
Was 911 is a joke on that one?
Not on this one.
The
first album I bought was the first one that I ever bought of PE was a cassette tape of Fear of a Black Planet. And I think that's where 911 was a joke.
It was a joke, was on that one. Yeah, it was the first one.
This is before that. This is way more hard.
Yeah.
Dude, that's what I was listening to as a young white kid. I listened to Public Enemy. So you took a lot of abuse by listening to that kind of music. And we'll get into that in the next one. I listened to a lot of stuff that told me what white people had done to black people, things that I was learning on my own.
You learned it musically.
When I was 10 or 11 years old, that my parents were not telling me, of course.
Yeah, so you learned it through music, though.
Of course. How do you think I became who I am? Sort of, it makes sense, right? Like, also growing up with some black friends early on who, we shared music with. They weren't telling me I was a piece of shit, but the music was. And I'm not a piece of shit.
The good you didn't believe them. They was just telling you about the bad white people. But till next time.
And I was showing them Guns N' Roses.
Crack open my eye.